Then I realized confidence doesn't come from being successful. Confidence comes when you trust yourself to be able to navigate out of trouble.
Welcome back to another episode of the Succeed Against the Odds Show. Here today as my guest, I have Rosemarie Barnes. Welcome, Rosemarie.
Thank you.
Rosemarie, I've known you for a while, but I don't really know you very well and in depth. So I'm very happy to have you here as my guest today in this episode. And I know a little bit about what you do. So would you mind sharing with me and with our audience what it is that you do? What is your specialty?
My specialty. All right, we can do that. My name is Rosemarie Barnes. My company is Confidence Stages. I do three things. I train people to speak in public so that they can engage their audience and then get to the success part easily. I am a public speaker and I speak about bridging the generation gaps in business and reinvention, personal, professional, corporate. How to transform. Change is great. It's the transitions that really aren't. And the third thing that I do is I'm an author. Two-time international best-selling author. Oh, aren't I all that in a bag of chips? So the things that I do is, it all started because when I was a teacher in another life, I spent most of my time teaching theater and music. In order to do that, the kids have to have confidence that they're not going to be shot down. I spent most of my time in theater, particularly, counseling kids on how to be confident. To do that, you need a safe place. If I was going to ask you to quack like a duck, you had to know it was okay to do that. So when I moved to the coast, to Vancouver Island, I realized that confidence is what's missing. Then I realized confidence doesn't come from being successful. Confidence comes when you trust yourself to be able to navigate out of trouble. When we are successful, one thing after another, it doesn't teach us that we can do that by ourselves. It doesn't teach us that we have the power in ourselves. But if we have a flat on the Malahat, if we have a flat on Highway 1, either we know how to change the tire or we don't. We may think we know how to change the tire, but if we've never had a flat tire, how do we know for sure? When you run into trouble is when you prove your worth to yourself, and that's confidence. So my company became Confidence Stages. The problem with that, of course, is that people who are lacking confidence don't go out and sign up for confidence classes. So that was a perfectly good business plan gone. However, there are two big fears of humankind: death and speaking in public. I can't help you with death. That's another person to speak to. But I can help you gain the confidence to speak in public. And if being that's humanity's one of the two greatest fears, if you can conquer that, what else can you not do?
Why, with your experience, why do you think people are afraid of speaking, besides the fear of judgment? Because I know that is the main one. At least I think that's the main one. What other fears do you see when you work with your clients?
The fear of forgetting their perfectly sculpted words.
So the fear of not being perfect.
The fear of forgetting what you're going to say and stand up there looking a fool.
Okay, so what are your tips on that?
Well, I teach content in a format that you can't forget, and more importantly, neither can the people who are listening to you. Would you like to know it?
Yes.
Oh, right then.
Oh, you're going to share with us. That's
I
awesome.
am. You talk to the hand. Not this way, but rather this way.
To your own hand.
This, yes. Your whole presentation is based on your hand.
Okay.
This is your opening. This is your closing and call to action. This is topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, with this one being the most important. We remember what we hear last, best. That's it. You try and cram more than that into a presentation, and you're asking your audience to remember too much, they won't remember any of it. 3, the number of the counting is 3. There's a reason we have the 3 bears and the 3 little pigs. We like 3. We can remember 3. If you forget, then all you have to do is look at your hand. This is your material. You created it. It's your presentation. What we forget is how to pick the 3 topics and then, more importantly, how to transition from one to the next.
Wow, great tip. Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
going to use that. I never thought of the hand. I've used methods where you go use different body parts to remember. There's my introduction, then my shoulders is the sort of the transition between the main body part, and that's what I've used. But I like the hand.
And if you forget, you look at your hand. You also never, ever, ever go out without your cheat sheet.
Your cheat sheet.
Yes. And on your cheat sheet, you have opening, a bullet point. Topic 1, 2 or 3 bullet points, each one, and you take that up. No reading, no memorizing, speaking.
So you don't have to worry about forgetting words.
Exactly.
As long as you know your topic. That's really what...
Now, I said you don't need to memorize, you don't need to rehearse. You do need to rehearse.
You do need to rehearse.
And you have to expect that every time you give a presentation, it's going to be a little different. Thank goodness, or we would bore ourselves to death. You have to speak to whoever is listening, and you have to speak to their top of mind problem. See, being a speaker isn't about you. It's about your audience. It's about being of service to them. It takes so much of the agony and anxiety out of being a speaker when you realize they don't care about you. They only care about you insofar as you can help them.
And it actually looks worse when you get nervous, because then the attention is on you. But if you're delivering that message, because my background, I don't know if you know, but my background, I used to be a performer. So I get it, right? Like if you're on stage, you have to forget about you. It's about what you're giving them so that they can receive and enjoy it. They're not going to enjoy it if you're going to be nervous and you're going to be so absorbed in yourself.
I have an excellent example of that. My background is music and theater, and so I conduct music and the like of that. Well, music and I get along terribly well. It's a visceral relationship. So I'm conducting music and I'm enjoying it, and that means I'm bopping along to the music. Unfortunately, that takes the attention off the music and onto what is that conductor doing out there dancing. And I said, I can't help it, the music moves me. And someone says to me, you're being very selfish. You're not allowing the audience to listen to the music. Instead, you're taking all that attention for yourself. Same thing. The speaker is not up there to aggrandize themselves. They are up there to solve the problem of the audience.
So can you get a little bit more or deeper on your transition from the theater to what you're doing now? So you said you were teaching young people in school. Was it high school?
I've taught everything. I seem to have a 7-year career attention span before it's time to turn it completely upside down and do something else.
That's because you're creative.
Oh, is it? Is that why? It's not just that I get bored easily? Okay.
Well, that's why you get bored easily, because you are creative. I'm the same. You have to keep reinventing yourself, doing different things. You know, they say you can't do everything as you can, just don't do it all at once.
That's right.
Right.
And I haven't done that yet, and I haven't done that yet.
Right. So the transition, what inspired you to go from young people to because I'm assuming you work, because I believe you work with entrepreneurs, so they're not really young people per se. They're more mature people. What was that?
Well, I work primarily with entrepreneurs and corporate. The transition was that you listen to people speak and you realize they're not sending the message they think they are. They're leaving money on the table because they're not solving the problem of the audience, and they're not ending with a singular 1, less than 2 action step, leaving their audience confused. Now, consider if you're in business and you're giving a presentation. What you want is for the audience to be engaged, and then you want the audience to buy into whatever it is you're laying down there for them. You can't do that unless you know how to speak in public. Now, just because you can talk doesn't mean you can speak. Amateur speakers believe it's about them. It's the difference in leadership. The leader is the one who inspires others to lead. The speaker is the one that inspires the audience, the listeners, to take action. If you're in business and you can't keep their attention and you can't keep their focus, how do you expect to get the yes? As an entrepreneur starting a new business, what could be more important than engaging the people that you're trying to do business with? Now, everything is relationship-based. We know that. We know that like, know, and trust is vital, no matter whether it's being a parent, being a teenager, being a businessman, being king of the world. Relationships count. But you can't do that if you're standing up there speaking to them and looking like an automaton, looking like it's not real, looking like you're about to soil yourself. You have to know how to speak.
Okay, I just had a picture.
Visuals. It's all about creating visuals.
Oh, yes. That's one visual I won't forget.
I'd love to share with you and the listeners how to convince your brain that you're confident. Would you like that?
Absolutely.
All right. The brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what we believe is real, what we think is real. When you get up on stage, it's the same physical reaction as if a grizzly bear just reared and is about to chomp your face off. Getting up on stage affects your adrenal glands, and zoom, the adrenaline goes. That causes us to breathe, chest breathe, instead of belly breathe like the babies do, which causes the oxygen to, we're now in fight, flight, freeze. That steals the oxygen from our higher thinking skills, like speaking, and sends it all into our muscles so we can lift the burning car off the baby. You'll notice how these heroes that do these incredible feats under pressure rarely remember doing it. It's because their brain we've gone back to reptilian brain there. Well, the same thing happens when people step on a stage. The exact same physiological response. The trick then is to stop the adrenaline from being released in the first place. Now, the body believes what the brain says believes what the body says. Therefore, and we all know this, when we engage our core, you as a performer know this, when you engage your core, you feel confident. And when we feel confident, our brain says, I got this, it's good. The trick is, you're up on the stage, you're staring down, people all listening to you, you're probably shaking in your boots, your paper is rattling, you've got too much saliva or not enough, and there you are. Too much to remember. One thing will get you out of all that trouble. Ready?
Yes.
Tighten your cheeks, not these ones.
The lower cheeks.
The lower cheeks, the backside, the derriere, the dupa, the
Well,
keister.
I wish I knew that the first time I gave my speech. I'll have to share that with you, because the first time I was ever exposed to that situation was I'm from Italy. That's where I'm from. So I was 17 years old and I moved to California, and without even knowing, within a week of being there, I was thrown into having to give a speech in English. I couldn't speak English at the time.
Oh, my stars.
So I had to literally memorize it off a script. Like, I had to script it and get it fixed. And then I gave my speech, and I wish I knew what you just said, because my mouth was so dry. It felt like it wasn't even moving, even though I had it there for me to read.
Yes.
It was so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I did it, because it really helped getting comfortable in front of people.
Absolutely.
But yes, but
when you engage your core now,
the cheeks. That is
well, because what happens?
the
Go
cheeks.
ahead, give it a try. Tighten your hiney, just your hiney.
Just the
Tighten
height.
it. You can do it standing. You can do it sitting. Tighten that baby right up. Here's what you have to think about. You've taken a lump of coal and you're going to turn it into a diamond. Okay, squeeze that puppy. Put it under pressure. Now, what's happened to your goddess muscles?
Yeah, you just kind of
You
It
just
pulls you
engage
up,
them.
yes.
It pulls your chest high. When your chest is high, you begin to breathe properly. When your chest is high, your hands naturally fall to your side. Doesn't happen. And when your core is engaged and your feet are directly under your shoulders, your chest is up, you're standing proud, and your brain starts taking over.
So there you go. This is amazing. Amazing tips.
That's a $500 tip.
There you go. Free. See what we bring you in the show. This is
see?
amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Now, you mentioned you were a two-time author, international
Yes.
bestseller. Can you share about that? Tell us about
Sure.
your books.
I would love to.
Yeah.
The first book was Confident Public Speaking, Being Heard Above the Noise. I'm so pleased to tell. I'm so excited. I published that a year and a bit ago. It has been recommended. BC now has public speaking back in the high school curriculum. And
Yay.
I know. Isn't that the
That is
best?
awesome.
My book has been suggested as the textbook for those courses.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
The reason is that it's written in the way I speak. There's
So
silly.
it's easy to understand.
It's not a huge book. It's not a tome. It's a nice little book that is chock-a-block full of step by step by step instructions on what to do in what situation. But more than that, it's relatable. Mm-hmm. It talks about ridiculous little examples that come up along the way. And by the way, did you know that? So it's a fun book to read, but it is full of interesting information to get you through the most horrifying moment. When I got married, my father was walking around the house looking like his world was ending. He was so distraught. He came up to me and he said, "Rosemarie, I'm so glad everything is working out for you. It's great. Do I have to speak at your wedding?" I said, "Well, it would be nice." And he said, "What if I just gave you the wedding money for you to elope?" Now, I'm Ukrainian. Ukrainian weddings, Italian weddings, it's a party, huh? So for him to say that was massive. And it was all due to his fear of public speaking. He could take this book and relieve the stress. I told him he didn't have to speak, and the wedding went on as planned. So that was that book. The idea is to help people, give them a template to work from in order to give a presentation.
So it's not just it's not just a textbook. You can actually buy this. Anyone can buy it. So
Anybody
where
can
can our audience find the book?
Amazon, or contact me.
We'll have your website
You will.
on the link. So
Okay.
check the link below.
Check
What is the website?
ConfidentStages.com.
There you go.
It's very
easy.
simple.
And what's about the other book?
The second book is called Confident Leadership in 21st Century Business. It's about bridging the generation gaps. We've got as many as 4 generations working under a single corporate roof. It's like being in a chicken coop. Everybody's pecking all over the place and nobody is looking for what the other person needs. Work expectations have changed so much over the time. I don't know who has it worse. A Generation X trying to lead the wild and carefree millennials, or the wild and carefree millennials trying to loosen up the restraints on Generation X. Generation X feels comfortable with structure. It tells them what they need to know. They do their part brilliantly, and then they go home at the end of the day. They work to pay for their weekends and their lives. Millennials, on the other hand, want work to mean something. They don't care about work-life balance because they want it to be one and the same. Businesses traditionally have started with the head guy on the top, and then we get the triangle of all the worker bees in the bottom. And that's worked for generations. Doesn't work anymore. Our young people don't want the pyramid, the triangle. They want King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. They want to be included every step of the way. They want to know all the details so that they know how their part fits in. Generations before were horrified of authority. They didn't want to be involved in all of that. They wanted to do their bit and go home. Now, how do you put those generations under one roof you end up with gaps that are like the Grand Canyon. So the second book is about how to start bridging those gaps.
Fantastic. So that's also on Amazon.
That's also on
and
Amazon.
Your website.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, okay, tell us a bit about how you work with entrepreneurs. Do you work one-on-one? Do you work with workshops like live in person? Do you work with them online? Do you work with people from all over the world where they like long distance, or do they have to be with you?
Yes, and
All of the
yes.
above. Okay, well, there you go. Doesn't matter where you are.
Doesn't matter where you are. When there is the opportunity, live and in person is where I'm happiest. That's not possible. I've got clients in Singapore. I can't meet them face to face. Thank goodness for Zoom and Skype and all of those wonderful things. Some things are easier to teach online than others. I can absolutely teach you content. I can teach you presentation skills. As soon as we start getting into delivery skills, how to use your voice, how to use your space, to move or not to move, that is the question. All of those things I can still do online. But how can I teach you presence online? How can I teach you charisma online? Well, it can be done. So when I'm training, if it's one-on-one, I like to also arrange for a couple of days of live and in person. When I'm working workshops, of course we are live and in person. And now I'm working on, and it's so close, I'm launching my speaking academy.
Wow.
So all the courses will be online, videos and the like of that. But even that will include a bit of community. That will include calls with me and calls with the other people for mutual support.
Cool. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So, wealth of information, wealth of expertise. So many amazing tips that you gave us right here. Like you said, that was already $500 worth that you got for free just for following the episode. Wow. Is there anything else you'd like our audience to know? Anything coming up for you other than the academy?
I'm speaking in a great many places. It is my fondest wish to help people realize that confidence doesn't come from being right. Confidence comes from navigating your way out of trouble. Public speaking is a huge fear, but it doesn't have to be. If you're in business and you cannot speak to a board, you cannot speak at a conference, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are. If you can't share those ideas, of what use is it? The world is changing so fast. We either have to get on board or get left behind. Albeit that we have electronics everywhere to guide us, people are craving more and more human contact. So live and in person is coming back into fashion. It's a tragedy if you cannot speak your brilliance and help the world be a better place for all.
It will also impact your bottom line.
You think?
I know. I don't
Absolutely.
think it. I know it.
To be successful these days, you have to know how to get presentations, give presentations that get the yes, that help you reach your success.
So here you go. Rosemarie can help you become an amazing speaker. It can also help you learn and put into practice how you can convert those speaking gigs into more money by getting clients out of your speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rosemarie, this has been amazing. I am so happy that we were able to make this happen.
Me too.
Very last minute, but we made it happen. And I hope our audience, please do get in touch with Rosemarie, because she's got amazing programs. Get her books. I'm going to get them as well. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on your show.
Check out the link. And you have to give me a hug.